I have had 2 hand surgeries. The first was in the spring of 2003. It was a late Sunday night, and I was stabbing a beef roast with an unfiltered steak knife, pushing cloves of garlic in it to prepare it for cooking the following evening. My hand slid down the knife, and the blade facing up slid up the joint of my pinky finger, severing both tendons and exposing the finger bone. I went to the emergency room because I couldn't stop the bleeding, and there I discovered that I had lost the use of the outer half of my right hand. The 2 fingers stood straight out, no control over them. Several days later, the tendons were microsurgically reattached. A thin scar extends into the palm, where the surgeon had to go fishing for the tendons, which had retracted up into my arm, like sewing together 2 strands of vermicelli. I then endured 12 weeks of hand therapy, and wore an arm splint contraption that aided the reinstatement of the tendons as pliant, useful little things. I took a lot of Vicodin during that phase, and discovered that I don't like this stuff at all. As a painkiller, it doesn't make the pain go away. It just makes you not care that you hurt, and it makes me nauseous. I've got about 90% use and range of motion of the hand back now. The second hand surgery was in the summer of 2005. It was the same hand, but this time it was the wrist. For about 10 years, I had a really painful ganglion cyst in it, sitting on a nerve. I realized it was a quality of life issue, since often it would get so painful that I couldn't even move my arm. I would bind it up in an ace bandage to keep the joint from bending. I went back to the same hand surgeon since I figured he already knew his way around in there. Initially, he aspirated the cyst with a giant syringe, removing pink, phlegmy substances from the wrist. He would follow this up with painful cortisone shots to get the inflammation to hold off. This would work for a month or 2, and then I'd have to go back. Finally, I opted for the surgical removal of the cyst. The surgeon went in and dug the thing out. He said it was big, but he believed very confidently that he had gotten it all out. This was in July. Following Hurricane Katrina in late September 2005, I noticed that another cyst had risen up right in the place of the first, lining up under the thin brown scar. It's painful, but nowhere near as much as the previous one. And I'm done with hand surgeries for the time being.